The term gaslighting entered the psychological lexicon from a 1944 film of the same name, in which a husband systematically manipulates his wife into believing she is losing her mind. He dims the gas-powered lights, then denies it is happening. He hides objects and convinces her she misplaced them. Today the term describes a specific pattern of psychological manipulation in which one person causes another to question their own perceptions, memories, and sanity. It is recognized by mental health professionals as a form of emotional abuse, documented extensively in literature on domestic violence, coercive control, and narcissistic relationships. Gaslighting is rarely a single dramatic incident. It accumulates through 1,000 small distortions. The gaslighter denies events occurred. They reframe the victim's emotional responses as overreactions. They selectively omit information. They enlist others to confirm their version of events, a tactic researchers call flying monkeys. Over time, the victim's ability to trust their own perceptions degrades. They begin to self-censor, questioning whether their interpretation of events is reliable before they voice it. This internal erosion of trust in one's own mind is the defining damage of gaslighting. Psychologists have identified a behavioral pattern in abusers called DARVO, an acronym coined by researcher Jennifer Freyd. DARVO stands for deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. When confronted about harmful behavior, the gaslighter denies it occurred, attacks the credibility or stability of the person who raised the concern, then repositions themselves as the true victim. This maneuver is extraordinarily effective because it shifts the emotional burden from the perpetrator to the victim, who now feels guilty for raising the issue in the first place. DARVO has been documented in studies of institutional responses to abuse as well as individual relationships. The cognitive mechanism that makes gaslighting so psychologically crippling is cognitive dissonance. Victims hold two incompatible beliefs simultaneously, that their own perceptions are real, and that the gaslighter, who they love and depend on, is telling the truth. This dissonance is intensely uncomfortable, and the mind resolves it by discrediting the weaker-held belief, which is typically the victim's own perception. The relationship's power differential, the emotional investment, and the intermittent kindness of the gaslighter all work to make the victim's self-doubt more persistent than the gaslighter's denials. Research on coercive control, a legal term in the United Kingdom and Scotland since 2015, has clarified that gaslighting is not about individual incidents but about a pattern of behavior designed to establish dominance. Evan Stark, whose 2007 book Coercive Control was instrumental in the UK legislation, argues that the harm of such relationships is better understood as the theft of liberty than as a series of discrete harmful acts. Survivors report that the most lasting damage was not to their bodies or their finances, but to their ability to trust themselves, a loss that persists long after leaving. Recovery from gaslighting is fundamentally a process of reality reconstruction. Trauma-informed therapists encourage survivors to document experiences. Keeping a private record can counteract the memory distortions the gaslighter introduced. Reconnecting with trusted individuals outside the relationship helps rebuild external reality testing. Psychologist Stephanie Sarkis, who has written extensively on gaslighting, emphasizes that the first task in recovery is learning to trust small perceptions again, noticing when something feels wrong and allowing that feeling to be informative rather than suppressing it. The capacity for accurate self-perception can be rebuilt, but it takes deliberate work.